Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, and welcome to episode 221 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Joining me today is Nizzi Renaud, Chief Marketing Officer at Zazzle, an online marketplace for custom products. We're going to be discussing how Zazzle is leveraging brand partners and personalized merchandise to drive customer engagement and sales. Thanks for joining me, Nizzi.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
So why don't we start by having you tell the audience briefly about Zazzle?
You bet. So Zazzle is the leading online destination for customization. We are an e-commerce marketplace and a platform ecosystem, and we're really built around the idea about the power of people and customization. And so here's what that means. Customers come to Zazzle and they can customize and purchase products and designs. And we truly have such a wide range of products, everything from wedding invites and holiday cards, stickers, mugs, even pillows and stuff like shower curtains, for example. Another part of our ecosystem is designers. So we actually have over 600,000 designers, many of whom are actually able to make a substantial living and income on Zazzle. And they add their designs to the marketplace and set up Zazzle stores. The biggest part of this is, of course, the actual making and manufacturing of these products. We make products on demand out of our manufacturing facility in Reno, Nevada. We also empower a number of networks of makers around the US and now internationally. And last but not least, what we're here to talk about today, brand partners. So we partner and empower many major brands, Disney, Marvel, DC Comics, Warner Brothers, including Harry Potter, Coca-Cola, even colleges and universities like Stanford and LSU, to allow their designs, logos, and character art to be customized within those brand guidelines and be made on demand. And just very quickly, in terms of our scale, so you understand, sort of our heft, we're so proud of our continued growth and profitability. We're truly global. We're in 16 different domains and have had over 22 million customers use our platform and marketplace since our inception. So that's who we are.
Great. That gives a kind of a nice background for the audience. Just in terms of your customer base, with that wide range of product, that kind of, I'm imagining it kind of runs the gamut in terms of your customers, men, women, all of all ages?
It does. It really does. Men, women of all ages. You can imagine when you have everything from those shower curtains and wedding invites to skateboards, that it really runs that gamut. And especially with the brand partners, we see that as well. When you have everything from Sesame Street to DC Comics, it's really fun to see sort of the wide range of audience and consumers we can target and bring to the site.
So let's talk a little bit. You referenced the kind of the brand partnerships and how that kind of interest in these really well-established brands that you've talked about, how the interest in in nostalgic merchandise has kind of impacted Zazzle's business.
Yeah, so, the brands in particular, and brand nostalgia and, nostalgia by decades have been really impactful for Zazzle. A perfect example is superhero content. So when you see like the latest when Wonder Woman came out or Superman, you see actually an uptake in also those vintage designs as well. So those happen hand in hand. Coca-Cola is actually one of our brand partners, and it's really fun to see this amazing archive of art that they've opened up to the platform and that iconic vintage imagery. And it goes, as recent or as far back as even the 90s. They had that 90s campaign, which I will not sing for you, Joe, but it was that Always Coca-Cola ad. And, that does incredibly well on the platform. And then you see it with brands that we've all known and loved, like Sesame Street, right? So we have hand in hand, and Sesame Street has hand in hand those vintage t-shirts back from maybe when you and I were a little younger, combined with characters that they have today, like Abby Cadabby. And so we really like to think of ourselves as this not so secret weapon for brands to showcase their current and vintage characters, logos, imagery. But the major advantage that we have, of course, is for these brands is that these brands don't have to carry inventory with us.
Mm-hmm.
They have their designs with us, and the products are made on demand. And in fact, I can't name names, but some of the brands actually use us as somewhat of a bellwether testing ground to see what is selling before making some of those own retail decisions.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm also kind of curious about, in your role as a marketer, how are you telling those stories, getting that word out to consumers that you have these great brand partnerships, you have these the ability for consumers to customize these products with some of these iconic brands, and not only that, you're probably communicating to consumers, but also to other brands. Like, take advantage of this opportunity. That here's some of the great people that we're working with. Here's some of the great things we've done. This could be an opportunity for your brand as well.
Yeah, very much so. Look, you see, we're able to tap into the range of brands that we have. We're really able to tap into fandoms. And you see that, with brands like My Little Pony, Harry Potter. We have the TV show that has a very passionate fan base called Outlander, for example, and does incredibly well on our site. And we're able to tap into those fandoms. And then so they come across our site as an option, and then they sort of get the word out, because what makes us different, other than buying the product just as straight retail, is that they can customize, they can play around, and in some cases put their names, change a few things, and have it made on demand. So I think that part is incredibly powerful. What I will say, though, that's interesting, and yes, on the flip side of this, what's unfortunate, and something that I know that your listeners from other major retailers out there can understand, is that there are also a lot of sites out there with sellers and who don't actually have the legal rights to these designs.
Yeah.
So it is truly a buyer beware situation. So when you're referencing sort of other brands knowing about us, that is what we bring to the table. It is a way to sort of legally, and of course with all deference to the brand and what they're okay with and what they will allow, have that available, and make sure that everyone is getting what they need to in terms of that. So we all know those sites out there that are perhaps not playing the game the way it should be played.
Yeah, you're a trusted partner. You're creating a quality product.
Very
the brand.
much.
Yeah. So then let's talk a little bit, and it's interesting you mentioned kind of these strong fandoms of some of these brands. My Little Pony, the Outlander TV show that you mentioned, just two examples. So talk a little bit about personalized merchandise then, and how that kind of enables Zazzle to acquire new customers. If you're a parent and your daughter or son loves My Little Pony, you're able to create a customized whatever piece of product that you choose, but you can kind of tap into those customer bases and fan bases to acquire new customers.
Yeah, so we get our best results in thinking about how people are searching for these products. Truly, search has been a major driver for us, and then optimizing the funnel once they arrive on the site. So thinking through the ways that you would be using their products. So Disney, for example, we've seen great traction with people wanting to, sort of doing searches as they're preparing for their vacations, heading perhaps to a Disney park, and then realizing when they come in Zazzle that they can have these custom T-shirts done ahead of their trip for the entire family. So really thinking through from search through to conversion is really important. Another important piece for us in that marketing mix is, of course, the imagery. That the power of that imagery, to tell those stories. So much of what we have, and what makes the customization, process really special is that technology. We have patented RealView technology. It allows you to see that customization process in real time. And that's where sort of the marketing and the technology goes hand in hand. And then, of course, when you think about marketing these days, there's no better place than social. And while we're somewhat still nascent, like we're thrilled to be playing in social and have the opportunity to continue tapping into communities there.
So, you've briefly touched a little bit about the kind of the buying experience and how this it's a little different and it's unique in that you're providing these customized services and customized products. So maybe you can walk through, for our audience a little bit about, they're a potential customer coming to Zazzle for the first time. What's different a little, can you tell us a little bit about that buying process and then how you're kind of catering the site to enable kind of the seamless online shopping experience that customers have come to expect?
Very much so, because what happens is once you get to our product page is you can of course just add to cart, but what makes us different is the ability to hit that customize button. And when you hit that customize button, our job is to make the customization process as effortless as possible. And that's really where we put a tremendous amount of our manpower and effort and technology towards continuing to solve for and enhancing that customer experience. So I mentioned, the ability to view the changes as you're typing in real time. And we're always thinking about what can we do to enhance that process, and it continues to be part of what we do. Adding the latest fonts, icons, and of course everyone's favorite, emojis. So making sure that as you're thinking about customization, we're making it easy for you, and also thinking about what's top of mind for you these days with customization. And that's truly what makes it different than just that pick, pack, and ship of regular e-commerce.
Yeah. Are they, in terms of imagery too, are they uploading like their own photos directly on if they want to get a mug with a photo on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that ability to upload your own imagery and the ease of that, and the ability, of course, for all of us, our photos now live in mobile. So being mobile first is really, really important for us.
And then let's talk a little bit about kind of the way you're marketing some of these brand partnerships. We talked a little bit about this, but I'm curious. Like when you have a deal with these iconic brands like Disney, Coca-Cola, how do you do you get them actively involved in in promoting the partnership? What are you doing? You mentioned social, on site, search. Talk a little bit about your role as the chief marketing officer to kind of drum up some enthusiasm around these brand partnerships.
Yeah, it's really sort of, with all of these partnerships, we use that search and discovery process through to, of course, the funnel back around to email as a pretty standard part and parcel of it. Where it becomes unique is, of course, thinking through what we can do with each individual partner. Brand partner. And a lot of times we see great traction with just, having fun little contests or giveaways on each other's social media accounts to raise awareness. So I can't say enough good things about, just sitting down and thinking through maybe one or two unique tactics that can enhance both brands and get the word out there.
So my final question, Nizzi, in terms of looking ahead from your role as a marketer, where's your attention focused as you look to grow the Zazzle brand? We've talked a lot about your brand partners. How about the Zazzle brand itself? Where are you focusing your attention as you look to continue the strong growth momentum you've started?
Yeah, so for us, really our growth lies in continuing to be on the forefront of customization and creativity. And as the marketer, I'm just as involved and excited and thinking about the site evolving and then getting the word out, right? You want something great to be able to market. And so for us, what the future looks like, and even sort of the current future is in a few different areas. One is we want to make sure that the customer understands that just because an item is custom and made on demand, it doesn't need to mean that it will take forever. We're very speedy in terms of our make times, and we're actually have launched and are continuing to launch programs around shipping. For example, we've launched a zip shipping option, which allows you to get customized products. You can place your order by a certain cutoff, made on demand for you, produced and on your doorstep, in some cases the next day. So made on demand, customized next day. We also know that today's customer wants to take that concept of creativity and not just have it on products. So we have a portal on our site that is well underway that allows you to express that creativity through other formats. So digital designs, maybe a banner for your Facebook page, and really sort of extending what it means to use Zazzle and use Zazzle for expressing that creativity. And then, with the marketing hat and with all of this, I can't say enough the power of the visual and imagery. And so for us, continuing to grow, and really move forward with video technologies, continuing with current and emerging social channels, how you search and discover, because that is how people find us. That's where you'll find me hanging out for the next foreseeable future.
How about, and one thing I didn't ask, how about loyalty and, what you're trying to do to engender loyalty? With some of these, in my mind, I'm thinking, a lot of your purchases might be these kind of one-off customized product purchases that might not be, lend itself to a second purchase. What are you trying to do to get those types of customers back to your site?
That's a great question. What we do find is there's great correlations between the perhaps the life event that you're actually purchasing for. If you're purchasing for yourself, for example, and it's home decor, we're able to think about that and surface up products to you that can speak to that. If it's gifting, for example, giving you other gift ideas. And really, everyone, I feel like I go to conferences every year and people predict the death of email, but truly for us, email remains such a powerful way to get that out and continuing to segment and personalize really sort of engenders that loyalty piece and keeping it back around. But I can't say enough things about for us in terms of it being the entire organization and from start to finish, making sure that you have the best experience possible. So customer care plays such a big part in that, not just sort of the marketing hat as well.
Yeah, true. Great. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank Nizzi Renaud of Zazzle for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. So make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Also, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.